In fact, you have beaten me, George. And as anyone...
The antagonist, representing greed and all that George Bailey must fight, of course, is the wealthiest man in town, Mr. Potter.
I were the only ones that kept our heads. You saved the building and loan. I saved all the rest.
Yes, well, most people say you stole all the rest.
The envious ones say that, George. The suckers.
The plot line is made up of events that describe a specific conflict and its outcome. Soon after a conflict is introduced, incidents occur which complicate it. This is called the rising action. Tension and reader interest build through these complications until a climax is reached. The climax is the point in a story where tension is highest. If you're watching television, the climax is the point at which you never change the channel. It's the point at which you are asking, what's going to happen next? How will this all turn out? As soon as the reader knows the outcome, the climax of the story is passed, and the falling action begins. This is sometimes called the denouement, which is literally the unraveling. Here you are presented with the solution or the clarification of the plot.
Come in, Uncle Billy! Everybody! In here!
George, Mary did it. She told some people you were in trouble with it. They scattered all over town collecting money. Didn't ask any questions, just said, George in trouble. Tell me, you
What is it?
like a spread like that.
Another run on the bank?
Here you are, George. Merry Christmas.
If you choose to write an essay about plot, you need to do more than summarize the story. To write about the plot, you should try to answer specific questions or relate the plot to other elements in the story. Remember, the object of writing about literature is to provide evidence for an interpretation. Simply retelling the story is not interpreting it. Two terms to consider in a discussion of plot are flashback and foreshadowing. Not all stories start at the beginning and progress logically to the conclusion. A novel or play or short story may begin with the conclusion and flash back to the beginning. It's a Wonderful Life began with George Bailey's crisis.
Help him, dear Father. Joseph, Jesus, and Mary, help my friend, Mr. Bailey.
Help my son George tonight.
He never thinks about himself, God. That's why he's in trouble.
And flashed back to his childhood.
And here comes the scare page. My kid brother, Harry Bailey. I'm not scared.
Flashbacks may also occur throughout a story, giving the reader more and more details about an earlier event. Foreshadowing is a technique used to give readers hints about the outcome of the story. From the outset, we expect something to happen. Consider the first 3 lines of Gail Godwin's short story, Dream Children. The worst thing. Such a terrible thing to happen to a young woman. It's a wonder she didn't go mad. We are left wondering, what terrible thing could have happened to this woman? And we know to expect something strange. Foreshadowing is often more subtle than this example. Sometimes it takes a second or third reading to be able to find clues that the author deliberately placed in the story to suggest the eventual outcome. The most important element in a literary work is the theme. All of the other elements, character, point of view, setting, plot, are utilized for one purpose, to express a theme. The theme is the major idea or central point of a work. The theme answers the question, what wisdom does this story offer? As you know, art forms are often subtle and ambiguous. They offer no quick solutions or easy answers. You will rarely find superficial morals like crime doesn't pay, or honesty is the best policy, or love conquers all in a literary piece. In fact, each reader may interpret the theme somewhat differently, just as you and your friend may have different interpretations of the movie you saw together. And it is possible for a work to contain several different themes. Even if you choose to write about one of the other elements of a work of literature, you should have some idea about the theme. An understanding of the theme is really a prerequisite for understanding any of the other elements. The easiest way to identify the theme is to look carefully at the story's conflict and how it is resolved. Let's look again at our one-sentence story. It is highly unlikely that the theme is about the cause of the wife's death. That is not where the conflict seems to be. Instead, we are concerned about how and why the husband died. Depending on the actual details of the story, the theme could be, to love too deeply is a weakness, or courage, not love, is required to survive life's tragedies. When you think you have identified a theme, you need to go back and check the specific details of the story to make sure there are no contradictions. In our example, if you discover that the husband was upset because the wife willed her fortune to charity, you would be forced to rethink your first statement. To love too deeply is a weakness. You may need to reformulate your thesis several times until it is consistent with all the facts of the story. Remember, when looking for the theme, you are searching for the overall purpose that controls the story. When writing about and interpreting literature, look for specific examples to help you prove your thesis. For example, in looking for the theme in The Catcher in the Rye, you may focus on Phoebe's comment to her brother, "You don't like anything that's happening." You may be tempted to think you have discovered the theme in this one speech. Holden Caulfield doesn't seem to like anything. But with more careful reading, you can find a number of things Holden does like. He likes the music of carousels. He likes his brother Allie. And he likes talking to Phoebe. In other words, without adequate evidence, an interpretation is a